In this brief presentation, we're going to just have a survey of the major religions of the world and where the majority of their followers are located. We'll look at it at both the country level and the people group level. Here you can see in this first slide that the majority of the Christian peoples are seen in North and South America and in sub-Saharan Africa and Australia, as well as parts of Europe. These are, with the exception of South America and sub-Saharan Africa, these are more traditionally Christian areas. They have been Christian for centuries. It's only been in the last 150 years that Latin America has become Christian. They have a long Catholic heritage, and many of those Catholics now have also become evangelicals, particularly of different charismatic churches from the Assemblies of God, Church of God, and many other independent churches. Southern Africa is the big story of recent missions over the last 100 years. All of these countries were primarily animistic in the past, but during particularly from 1950 to 1980, the gospel spread and was accepted by many people groups in sub-Saharan Africa. But again, this is country level data. There are still unreached people groups in all of these blue areas. The green shows us where the Muslim peoples are located. I'm sure most of us are aware of their presence in the Middle East and in some of the former Soviet countries in the far south. But some are not aware of the influence of Islam in North Africa. Almost all of those large countries in North Africa that are green are the terrain is dry and deserty. The people mostly live in the urban centers, and Islam was spread there through various jihads, either through trade or of war. You see Hinduism over by India, and Buddhism in Thailand and in the Vietnams. Here we see the unreached people groups. Each one of these dots is an ethnic group that is unreached, meaning there are less than 2% evangelical Christians among that ethnic group. You can see that the dominance in North Africa and in India, as well in Indonesia and Malaysia. These are ethnic groups. About 1/3 of the ethnic groups of the world still remain unreached. That's about 4,000 ethnic groups. Here's another representation of the Christian ethnic groups of the world. You see again predominantly in North and South America, as well as in Europe and parts of sub-Saharan Africa. Each one of these, again, are ethnic groups, and you can see that in sub-Saharan Africa and also in Latin America, there are large clusters of these Christian ethnic groups along the coast. That is primarily because of the density of population in those areas. This is a representation of the Muslim ethnic groups of the world. And you can see again in North and Western Africa, as well as throughout the Middle East, and also a large concentration in Southern Europe and in India. Indonesia is very dark, showing this very strong concentration of Islamic groups there, and also in Malaysia. Most of the unreached people groups in the world today reside in these ethnic groups who are Muslim. Here's a representation of the world's Buddhist followers, the ethnic groups, and we see this is primarily in Asia, the largest concentration in Vietnam, both north and south, and in Thailand. Here we see where the world's Hindu ethnic groups are located, almost entirely in the country of India, some in Myanmar as well. You see these large concentration of the Hindus here in India. We also saw uh, them, Indians had a large number of Muslim groups as well. And thus, we have the conflict that has been going on in that part of the world among various ethnic groups. There's a large Christian following there as well. And so there have been fights between Hindus and Muslims and Christians. And it's usually always at the ethnic group level. I often get the question of which religion is growing the most rapidly today. And most people would think it is Islam or Muslim religion. And in fact, this chart that we see here does show that. That traditional ethnic religion, that is animistic, and most of it is in Africa, and Islam are those that are growing the most rapidly. That's predominantly because of population birth rate in those countries. They're growing faster in raw population. And so those followers of Islam, of course, are going to increase rapidly because of the population increase, and the same with animistic religions. Not so much in the areas where Hindu and Christian and Buddhism are being practiced. But that only tells part of the story. When we look at evangelical Christianity, that is, leaving out Catholicism, Lutheranism, also the Anglican religion, the Orthodox religions, those religions that are state religions or older Christian denominations, leaving those out, evangelical Christianity is growing far more rapidly than Islam. So when we talk about the growth rate of the various religions of the world, it is true if we look at Islam and Christianity as a whole, Islam is outstripping Christianity. And a lot of that has to do with not only the birth rate, but also the turning away from Christianity in Western Europe today. There are many missionaries now going back to countries in Central and Western Europe to begin to plant churches again, because the churches have become stagnant. In fact, in England today, they have a society called the Society for Redundant Church Buildings to protect these old buildings that nobody really meets in anymore, but they are historical sites. But evangelical Christianity, of which most of you in this class are from, is growing much more rapidly than any other religion in the world.